We need to give ourselves some grace and forgiveness for falling short, but we also need to forgive our parents for falling short and not being able to meet all of our needs. Welcome to another episode of the Mental Health Break podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nafisa Sikandri. Today, I want to share with you our theme for the Happiness Project in March. If you're a new listener and aren't familiar with the Happiness Project, it's a project I started in January based on Gretchen Rubin's book, The Happiness Project, which was written almost 20 years ago. In her book, Gretchen decides to make small changes to her life each month, hoping to create more happiness in her life. I've taken a lesson from the book and I've decided to create my own happiness project for 2026. And I'm focused on not only creating small changes in my life and also expanding my comfort zone, but I've also created a private membership community where we gather online to support each other and to cheer each other on as we all focus on creating more happiness in our lives. We've had 2 themes so far. In January, we focused on decluttering and clearing up stagnant energy in our lives, and also starting the year off with being more organized and having more optimistic energy about the coming year. In February, we focused on improving our relationship with ourselves, with our loved ones, and with God. Each month, I also go live and share my own updates, but also answer any questions that come up and provide resources for the community. If you'd like to join the Happiness Project and be part of our private community, visit drsikandri.com/happiness-project. In March, we'll be focusing on parenting. Even if you're not a parent, I'm sure you have parents and you can be a parent to yourself, and then you can parent that inner child inside of you. This means addressing old wounds and old hurts either caused by your parents or your caregivers, or healing wounds related to not getting your needs met. This can also mean dealing with past repressed emotions that you've been avoiding and focusing on cultivating more self-love and care for yourself. It can also mean forgiving your parents for what they weren't able to give you, and then also understanding that they probably did the best they could under the circumstances. As a parent, I now realize that I'm growing up and learning at the same time my daughter is growing up and becoming an adult. I'm so thankful for my training as a psychologist and learning about behavior management, because now I understand that although there isn't a manual for raising children, good parenting skills can be learned, and we're not expected to know how to do it all. 100 years ago, we lived in communities and we helped each other and learned from each other. But parents today are isolated and they're often feeling overwhelmed and alone. They're expected to know how to do everything without the support of community or family. We need to give ourselves some grace and forgiveness for falling short, but we also need to forgive our parents for falling short and not being able to meet all of our needs. When I say this, I'm not condoning extreme abuse or neglect by parents. I'm just saying for you to decide what you want to do moving forward. Even if you were a victim of such parents, you now have the option of either moving forward and working on your healing, or remaining stuck in the past and continuing to suffer. You're an adult now and you have the options and no longer have to feel like a victim. Give yourself permission to heal. This doesn't mean doing it alone. It means there's help available, so please seek it out. Talk to a therapist, a religious leader, a community member, or even supportive family and friends. The more you talk about your past wounds, the less they'll be able to control you and hurt you. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable and dealing with painful emotions. Allow them to come up and move through you. And also, if you are a parent, focus on the kind of parent that you want to be this month. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed and unsupported. Maybe there's no time for self-care, but you must make the time. You'll be a much better parent if you take care of yourself first and make sure you're getting enough sleep, and also eating good, nutritious foods and making time to go for a walk and calm your nervous system. Taking care of yourself means that you're going to be calmer with your children and you're going to be able to teach them to regulate their behavior. Learn behavior management strategies if you feel like your children are not behaving properly. Seek help from a behavior specialist if it's getting out of hand. A calm, regulated child is a happy child, and happy children create a peaceful home environment. It's all possible to have. I know that when I adopted my first and only puppy, I was terrified of how to handle a dog because we've never had a dog before. I felt overwhelmed, and I'm sure I made a lot of mistakes initially. But I found a puppy training group that I took my dog to, and they taught me how to teach and train my puppy. I learned how to reward good behavior and punish bad behavior in a way that supported my dog. That investment in time, effort, and money paid off big time. I now have a well-trained dog that follows directions, is calm, and is happy. I can take him anywhere without fear of him misbehaving. Humans can also benefit from behavior management training. Sometimes parents make the behavior of their children worse without even realizing it. For example, when a parent laughs when a child says the F word, that child's face lights up because they feel like they did something good. And so the next time they want to make their parents laugh, they're going to say the F word. And they're going to keep on saying the F word until they're taught not to say it. Another example is giving in to your children's tantrums in a grocery store because they want candy or junk food. You think you've calmed your child down by giving in, but what you've done is teach them that whenever they want something bad enough, all they have to do is have a meltdown and you'll give in. I work with children regularly, and I've seen how much lifestyle impacts the behavior of children. So if you're feeling overwhelmed or you're unsure of where to start by asking yourself if your children are eating healthy foods. Are they getting their nutritional needs met? Are they getting enough fresh air and spending time outdoors? Are they going to bed on time and getting a good night's sleep? Are they reading books and calming down their nervous system regularly? If the answer is no to any of these, start by fixing that area. Making lifestyle and dietary changes can have an amazing impact on the mental, emotional, and physical health of your child. Also, without meaning to, we pass on our fears and anxieties on our children. We become so overprotective and try to make sure our kids are never hurt or sad. That's not realistic. We need to prepare them for real life and help them handle difficult situations in a healthy way. My daughter was 7 or 8 years old when our cat was hit by a car. I could have protected her and lied to her about the cat and just disposed of the body without her ever knowing about it. But I wanted to use that opportunity to teach her about grief and death. So we had a little funeral for the cat, and I allowed her to say goodbye and get that closure. But this helped her when my aunt passed away shortly afterwards. She was very close to my aunt and loved her so much, and she was devastated by her death. But that previous experience with the cat made the grieving process a little easier. Usually for parents, the knee-jerk reaction is to jump in and help kids when they're faced with any kind of hardship. But allowing kids to solve their problems and enjoy a sense of accomplishments is one of the greatest gifts we can give them. Teaching kids to be fireproof instead of protecting them from the fires that life will throw at them will help them be confident and resilient. So focus on parenting this month. That means parenting yourself and healing your inner child and addressing old wounds and forgiving your parents for not meeting your needs, but also forgiving yourself for not being the kind of parent you'd like to be, and then forgiving your children for not measuring up to your expectations, and focusing on improving your parenting skills if you feel you're lacking in any area. I've also recorded a few podcast episodes related to parenting to inspire you this month, so be sure to check them out. Thanks for listening. Be sure to follow and subscribe to the Mental Health Break podcast. It would really help us get discovered by others if you do. And now you can text us directly and share your thoughts with us about this episode. If you're interested in joining the Happiness Project, visit drsecandry.com/happiness-project. Until next time.